We have some trade deadline targets to talk about before we finish up this show. We're going to start with the man from the AL Central, a name that we've talked about a little bit on the show in the past. One, Lucas Giolito, who has had a very nice season. Pretty nice season.
Not a very good night. He got jacked up.
He sort of got destroyed today, yes. But let's take a look at Giolito's numbers for the season. There they are, 3.82 ERA, a 1.18 whip, 115.1 innings. He's been relatively durable, able to pitch pretty deep into games. 9.5 strikeouts per nine, 3 walks per nine. He does have a 4.56 FIP, which we are big FIP people around here. But he has always kind of had a home run problem. That's the reason that his FIP is as high as it is. He's pitched to a 3.82 ERA anyway. But yeah, Giolito is. There were times in his career when you kind of wondered if he would be like a number 1, number 2 starter. I don't think he's quite that, but in somewhat similar fashion to Michael Lorenzen, maybe a slight step above that. We talked about Lorenzen on the show yesterday. He's a guy that would absolutely be an enormous upgrade for the Diamondbacks, especially over a guy like Zach Davies, who obviously struggled today.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at these numbers, they're not too far off of Tommy Henry's, to be quite honest. So, like, I was talking about...
His peripherals are better than Tommy Henry's.
But I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Like, Tommy Henry is getting to a point, like, you look at his stats, like, that's a solid... He's a solid pitcher. So, and you have a guy that, even if marginal is an improvement on Tommy Henry, who I would say is your third best pitcher right now, like... I'm taking that, absolutely. Similar to, like you said, Lorenzen, like that, it significantly, and you're not, I don't know really why I'm even looking at it from that perspective, because the reality is you're not upgrading from Tommy Henry, you're upgrading from Zach Davies or Ryan Nelson. So
yeah, Tommy Henry, at least at this point, I mean, it does feel like these things can change quickly, but Tommy Henry, if anyone, probably has the safest spot in rotation at this point.
At the very least, I kind of was talking about this the other day too, like you're upgrading your playoff bullpen. Because you run 3 starters out there during the playoffs, one of these other guys, whether it's whoever they acquire, like a Giolito or a Lorenzen, or if it's Tommy Henry, who's, I think only once, but has pitched out of the bullpen at once this season. So, like you're setting yourself up for success in the playoffs in that regard too.
You could have Giolito start a playoff game.
Yeah,
like
100%.
That's fine.
And I feel like you have a lot more confidence, even if the numbers are similar. You have a lot more confidence in Giolito than you do a young guy like Tommy Henry in that situation.
Yeah.
But I would have confidence in Tommy Henry coming out of the bullpen in the postseason. So
sure.
His birthday's coming up, by the way.
Oh.
Thomas Jack Henry, born on July 29th,
26 years old.
Yeah.
I think that would be for him.
Yep.
We have some pros and cons here for Lucas Giolito. This was not a mistake. A pro is that he got rocked today. Because that means theoretically his price goes down. And then a con is that he got rocked today because you don't necessarily love a 2-month rental, coming off a pretty darn rough start against, I believe, the New York Mets today.
Yep.
But on the pro side, relatively affordable from a cost standpoint. His salary shouldn't be prohibitive. A clear upgrade for sure over what the Diamondbacks currently have. On the con side, he is just a rental only under team control through the end of the season. And there's going to be a lot of demand for a guy like Giolito. There are a decent number of starting pitchers, not a lot. There's a decent number of rental starting pitchers on the market, but it seems like he's kind of one of the higher end guys, one of the guys who's a little more established that playoff teams would feel more comfortable with starting a playoff game. The Diamondbacks would not be the only team calling the White Sox about a guy like Lucas Giolito.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're joking a little bit about the getting rocked today thing, but like, the reality is, it's like no good scout is scouting anybody based off their last start. Like, you're obviously looking at it in whole. So the reality of it, how much that actually affects anything is probably not very much. But still, like, I mean, we said it all. Like, I think it would be a market upgrade. And obviously being a rental is a negative, but that's going to be everybody damn near.
Yeah, and it's kind of a positive in a sense because you're not paying
anything.
Like buying 2.5 years of Lucas Giolito or something would probably cost the D-backs quite a lot from a prospect standpoint. I still think getting half a year of Lucas Giolito, they're probably going to have to spend more than you would really like to for, like 2, maybe a little over 2 months of a starting pitcher, but that's kind of the position that the Diamondbacks are in if they do want to buy at the trade deadline. And they need a starting pitcher. If we learned anything from this game, it is that the Diamondbacks We probably learned a lot of things from this game overall. But one of the main takeaways is still that the Diamondbacks need at least one more starting pitcher down the stretch to help them out.